So as a young person going through all those kind of experiences, I lost my self-esteem, my self-confidence, and really started to question who I was and didn't believe in myself. I had no self-worth, didn't love myself, didn't believe I was lovable, thought I was defective as a human being, didn't think I was good enough. I caused irreversible harm to my victim, his family, his friends, his community, my family, my friends, my community, and myself. So as a 20-year-old, you get sentenced to life in prison with 11 years non-parole. It means you will definitely not get out within 11 years. And you could potentially spend your entire life in prison. I got into the working unit and I got into the prison and I got a job cooking straight away. Saturday nights is chicken night. Roast chicken, vegetables, gravy. And my first chicken night, I sent out raw chicken to the whole prison.
You saw potential in it.
Yeah, you saw potential when I saw no potential.
Yeah.
And so I went from that daily kind of like try and make it through today mindset, just survive today, to, okay, I have a little bit of agency. There is the possibility. Support has always been on offer to me through my whole life. I never accessed it because I never asked. The mindset at that time, and that prison is where I read that article too.
Yeah.
So this is like kind of like an awakening for me. Like, oh well, like there's other opportunities. Okay, there's work. Okay, there's people who will be encouraging and supporting. And this was a prison officer. I'd never experienced a prison officer encouraging me and supporting me and helping me to become better.
Welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Dahya, and today's episode is titled From Prisoner to Programmer, Transforming Adversity into Success. Our guest today is Sean Selby, whose remarkable journey is a powerful reminder that our past does not define our future. Serving 11 years in prison, Sean made a decision. He was going to rebuild his life from the ground up. He was incarcerated, he earned 2 diplomas and 2 top grades, and mentored fellow inmates and planted seeds for a brighter future. After his release, Sean completed a Bachelor of Business at Massey University, led a team of 30 people in logistics and manufacturing, and discovered a passion for tech. Last month, he graduated from the Coding Bootcamp and founded Better Convo, an AI-driven app helping people how to be more empathetic in their conversations. Sean mentors Māori university students and is about to start a new chapter as student success lead at Take Two. Using his journey to inspire and empower others outside of work, you'll find him rock climbing, surfing, and walking his family dog. Sean's story is a living proof that transformation is possible, no matter how dark things may seem. Welcome, Sean, to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Sean, before we get into some meaty questions, I'd like to really get an understanding of your journey in life from childhood to this point in time. Would you mind sharing with us, how that journey has been for you?
Absolutely. So grew up in Auckland, New Zealand. My parents split up when I was 5 years old, which was, a hard experience for any young child to go through. Things, for me, were a bit tough from then on. Not seeing my dad very often. I lacked that father role model in my life. I did see him, but not that often. And I guess not having that physical presence there is a big thing for a child at that age. And growing up as a Māori in East Auckland, a lot of Pākehā and Asian kids at my schools that I went through, primary, intermediate and college. I guess I always lacked that sense of identity and who I was and being part of, people that looked like me and spoke like me, and I really lacked that sense of belonging and connectedness to my culture. So I whakapapa to Ngāpuhi, which is far north of the North Island, and Tarawa, which is based around the Rotorua region in the North Island. I only went to my marae once or twice before I was 5 years old, so I didn't have that connection to my land, my whenua, where I'm from, and my people, so my extended whānau, which was tough. So I guess I felt a bit isolated and lacked that sense of identity in who I was.
Well, we share the same story around parents separating at 5, because I went through exactly the same thing. Yeah, and I can appreciate what that would have been like for you as well. Yeah, for me, I saw my dad maybe once a year, and I didn't know my mum until I was 21. Totally appreciate where you're coming from. Sean, take us back to the beginning. What was the turning point for you during your, because you did end up in prison, and what was the turning point during that time that sparked the decision to transform your life?
Yeah, so I can take it a give a bit more context about what
Yeah,
led to my time in prison as well.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so from a very young age, including, through being a young person, 9 or 10 years old, and then going into becoming a teenager, I experienced psychological abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. And so as a young person going through all those kind of experiences, I lost my self-esteem, my self-confidence, and really started to question who I was and didn't believe in myself. I had no self-worth, didn't love myself, didn't believe I was lovable, thought I was defective as a human being, didn't think I was good enough. That was tough. And I also kind of withdrew into myself. So if I was feeling sad or lonely or angry or depressed, I didn't even have the confidence to ask people for help. So then everything was internalized. And what I later came to realize was that I was bottling up all of these emotions for many years. And around about the age of 13 to 15, I was introduced to alcohol. And so I started to drink alcohol. And now in hindsight, I realized I was self-medicating through the use of alcohol to numb those emotions that I didn't know how to deal with. And then around the age of, from 16, 17, and 18, I fell into a group of friends, which I met through school. And we'd go out drinking on the weekends, parties, getting drunk, and also getting into fights. And so fights with other people, other males our age. And so for me, having violence in the home towards myself and then was normal. And then being violent with my group of friends as a teenager also became normal. So violence was a normal thing for me to be around and then to be involved in. I actually didn't like it. And the primary feeling I had in going into a fight or being in a fight was fear. But I was drawn to this group because that was the one place that I found that belonging and that acceptance and a form of love, which I now know is not real love, but a form of love, which I didn't know was lacking in my life, but that's where I got it. So when I was with this group and would go out drinking and we would get into fights, it was like being totally accepted. Sense of belonging.
Part of a community, right?
Part of a community. Not a good community.
No.
And also in some respects, this is almost kind of a little bit of a normal thing in New Zealand culture, growing up, drinking culture, binge drinking, all this kind of stuff. And I'm an advocate now that it's not healthy and it's not good for our young people or even adults. But at that time, it was completely normal and I didn't know anything different. And so going forwards into how I got in, what led me to prison, I was at a party one night, drinking, I was drunk. I left the party with my best friend and we walked home to his house. We were going home for the night. We came across 6 older males in the street. They were kind of in their mid-20s. We got into a fight. I got punched. We both went back to his house and then we went back up the road. And when we went back up the road, I had a knife in my hand and we both came across 2 guys that had been at the previous fight. I stabbed the person who punched me and he died that night in an ambulance. And, if I could go back and change the past, I would. I'm not proud of what I did. I caused irreversible harm to my victim, his family, his friends, his community, my family, my friends, my community, and myself. And what I'm focused on now is trying to do something with my life to have a positive difference, because I caused a lot of harm and I created negative ripples through many people's lives and through the community. And now what I'm trying to do is reverse that, and I know I can't make up for it, but I'm trying to create positive ripples in my life.
And at that given moment where you stabbed that guy,
yes,
What was going through your mind at the time?
Complete fight or flight response. All my thinking was out the window as an 18-year-old who was drunk. Lacked that problem-solving ability, lacked the thinking of consequences. Now as a 35-year-old adult, completely rational and expected that if anyone's carrying a knife around and going to get into a fight, there's a high likelihood that someone's going to get seriously hurt and even potentially die.
Yeah.
But in that moment, that wasn't even my thinking. And I knew I'd stabbed him, but I didn't know he had died until the following day I heard it on the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you probably would have been out of there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it happens in a split second. It probably took, the whole coming into contact and the event, and then I ran off. Me and my friend ran off down the street. It happened in the main road, in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
It probably lasted, I'm just guessing, 10 to 20 seconds.
Seconds, yeah.
Yeah, seconds. But it felt like a split second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like in that moment, you, like you said before, that you would have lost all consciousness of what you were doing.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're in that flight or fight scenario, right? With your amygdalas basically going, right, you got to fight because you met them before.
Yeah.
And you got into a fight with them, and then on the way back, they were there again.
And as we're going, there's so many chances where I had the chance to make a different decision.
Yeah.
To not walk back up the street, to not take the knife, to even get halfway up the street and turn around, or even just to see them and then to turn around and not confront them the second time. And I've been down that road so many times of kura short of water, and I also know that
you can't change it.
I can't change it, and I can't beat myself up forever.
No.
As I said, I'm not proud of what I did. What I am proud of is what I've achieved since going to prison and coming out, and the things I'm doing now to try and improve my life and improve the lives of other people too.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Were there particular moments or people that planted the seeds of hope for you?
Yeah, so one of the big fears I have, beliefs, was a belief. I was unlovable, I wasn't loved. And I believed that even my family didn't love me. And it was incorrect. Unfortunately, it took something drastic like this happening in my life. I actually fled the country. I went to Australia and tried to take my life. I attempted suicide. And my family, I'd lied to my family, and I said that I was going to the South Island for a few weeks, but I actually flew to Australia to kill myself. The New Zealand police, I was a suspect. They went to my house and they were, fingerprinting my house and taking DNA samples off my clothes, and they were interviewing my family, and my family 100% believed they had the wrong person. And then the police told my family that I'd flown to Australia because I guess they could track my passport. So the next day, my family flew over to Australia, and they actually got detained at the Brisbane airport. I don't know why, but they did.
Is it because they're linked to
oh yeah, I think definitely because of me. It's like why did they get detained? Yeah, because I guess maybe they could have been trying to aid and abet me if they found me or something. But they weren't. They were just trying to find me. I'd run away.
Yeah.
But I got wind that they had landed in Brisbane airport and had been detained. So I handed myself in at the Brisbane airport, and then agreed to extradition back to New Zealand to face my charges. So why I bring that story up is because my family loved me. And my family supported me through my 11 years in prison, and they're still my biggest supporters now.
Yeah.
So when you ask, was there anyone who had a big impact in my life?
Your family.
And yeah, I met a lot of people along the way as well. I was very lucky to I've been through about 5 or 6 years of counselling, therapy. I've got a lot of great mentors that have backed me for a number of years now, that have really opened my mind up to opportunities, and have really encouraged me every time I've had a success. And even in the early stages, about halfway through being in prison, I read an article in the Dominion Post, which is a newspaper in Wellington. Yep. And there was a story on the front page of a guy called Dr. Paul Wood, who was graduating a PhD of psychology. And the backstory was that he'd gone to prison when he was 18 years old, He'd been sentenced to life for murder. He'd served 11 years in prison, and he'd completed his master's while he was in prison, and then got out and finished a PhD. And that completely blew my mind, sitting in a concrete yard in prison. I didn't even know you could study because no one was studying. I didn't know you could get education in prison because no one was getting education.
Well, that's the first I've heard of it, but yeah.
Yeah, so I went on, so for the next 2 years, actually I was a bit lazy for a year, so I had the seed, I didn't do anything for a year, but I got that little motivation to maybe I could study, maybe I could get some education. And he studied with Massey University. And I thought I want to do that too. So a year later, I tried to enroll, and then I spent 2 years getting denied from the Department of Corrections, saying you can't do it, it's impossible. And I said, well, it has been done. I've seen it in the newspaper. Someone's done it, so how can I do it? And went through a lot of red tape. It took 2 years to turn the initial no, you can't do it, into a yes, you can do it. And that's a whole story in itself. But so Dr. Paul Wood, been a huge, still a great mentor for me. And man, the things he's gone on to achieve. He's been out of prison now for 14 years. He's got off all of his life parole conditions. He's travelled around the world. He has his own business consulting to government agencies, private agencies, all about mindset and mental skills training. So
I think I remember Dr. Paul Wood. I can't remember exactly who it was that he murdered, but I do remember that story. And you know what you shared earlier on about losing your self-esteem, all of that. That's very familiar because it's interesting that our ages, we are totally different in age, but we've been through similar things, but then the path we took was different. You know, for me, I very, very closely, nearly ended up as a street kid on the streets of Wellington at the age of 16. But fortunately, I had a friend who was a Christian, and he invited me to youth camps. And I started going there, and ended up joining the church. But at 15, I remember trying to cut myself and kill myself. Okay. Because I was told that I was useless. I would never amount to anything. I'd never be a singer. I'd never be successful. By someone very close to me and dear to me. And, you know, I could have ended up in a similar thing, because for me, the abandonment and rejection made me a very angry kid. I remember stabbing a kid through his hand at the age of 10 because he was annoying me with a compass. But yeah, I could have easily ended up in there myself. So I really, really commend you for what you did in terms of turning your life around, even though you went through the experiences that you've gone through. So you achieved so much while you were in prison, 2 diplomas, mentoring others. What's kept you motivated day after day in such a challenging environment? Like, we're coming out of prison and then back into this world. What's kept you going day by day?
Day by day now, or day by day in prison?
Now.
Now?
Yeah.
Oh man, now it's just amazing. This world is amazing. People, society, the opportunities, the technology. There's just so much on offer for everyone. And I've got certain obstacles and barriers that get in my way, especially around like getting employment and things like that, because in New Zealand you have to disclose if you're asked a criminal conviction, and I would like to, because I like to be transparent and authentic and upfront.
Absolutely.
But the general consensus of New Zealand is general, and I'm not saying everyone, but general is kind of, there's a strong lock them up and throw away the key mentality, and there's a strong keep them away from us mentality, like they're not safe. And I agree. There are some people that are in our prisons that probably aren't safe to be released, and probably haven't been rehabilitated, and may not want to be. It's because you've got to be motivated to want to change, and to want to reintegrate into society, and have a meaningful difference, or just to live a simple, normal life, crime-free. And not everyone wants to do that. But I think there are people in prison who, like myself, do want to get out and do want to have a positive, meaningful life and to contribute to their family and build a career and all those kind of things. But there are some obstacles that we have as a society, which makes it harder for people like myself to get those opportunities.
And if we just able to go back to your time in prison, what was your mindset like day by day?
Yeah, right. So the mindset in prison is actually my first. So I was sentenced to 11 years non-parole, which as I got sentenced when I was 20. So as a 20-year-old, you get sentenced to 11 year life in prison with 11 years non-parole. It means you will definitely not get out within 11 years.
11 years.
And you could potentially spend your entire life in prison.
Wow.
And there are people in our prisons right now who are serving, who've been in there 20, 30, 40 years.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's just a complete turn your world upside down experience. And even at 20, I didn't have, modern science is saying that our brains and male brains aren't fully matured to 25 or 32, right? So I was still child brain. I call it a child brain, or even a teenage brain. But at 20 years old, I didn't have a concept of how am I going to survive the next 11 years, let alone thrive or make it out the other side in a positive way. And so for my first 18 months of my sentence, I was in a prison called Palermo, maximum security prison in Auckland. And the regime at that time was 23 hours locked up in your cell.
Wow.
And you're allowed out for 1 hour to get your meals and have a shower. And at that time, they weren't even letting us out in the yard. So we had no sunlight for 18 months. So you're indoors for 18 months. Basically, I call it solitary confinement. You could socialize for an hour, but and then it's like, as a 20-year-old, the kind of people I was exposed to during that 1 hour out I went from a not great group of friends to a much worse environment. And I'm just lucky. I feel lucky that I survived that time, that 18 months, let alone the 11 years. There's so many things that could have gone a lot worse. And the mindset for that period, because I was segment into periods, is I just need to make it through today. And for that 18 months, it's like, okay, need to make it through today, make it through today. There was no, I read a few books here and there, but there was no self-improvement. There wasn't a whole lot of reflection, like even reflecting on what I did wrong with my offending. There wasn't a lot of reflection on like what led me to this path. I hadn't even discovered what emotions were yet. I didn't know what emotions were. So that self-reflection, self-insight, there was even the mindset, like a positive or a growth mindset, totally non-existent. It was a very fixed mindset of fucked up. I'm a bad person. Look at my environment. Everything's confirming to me. These officers are telling me I'm bad. These guys are saying these guys are scary. Got no real friends. Everything in my reality told me that the world wasn't safe, I wasn't safe, and I wasn't a good person. Luckily, on a technicality, I got shifted out of that prison after 18 months, and I got moved down to a prison called Crawford Prison in Wellington, which is
Mount Crawford,
Mount Crawford Prison, which has now been shut down. I was actually there on the very last day it shut down in 2012.
I've been in the prison,
right,
from a church ministry perspective, and I actually met a guy called Richard Tatau who was in there, and we started a band together, and we ended up jamming with Dave Dobbin in Rimataka Prison.
Fantastic. How was that?
That was awesome. We did a concert for the youth.
That's great that you went in there.
Yeah.
And that would have brought some love and some positive energy in for them.
Absolutely. And then we became the band for the prison fellowship.
Cool.
So carry on, sorry.
Yeah, and so moving to, I want to just to highlight the 18 months thing. I was trying to improve my situation because I heard that the prison right next door to maximum security was a low to medium security prison, right. and there was units where you could live in, so units of people, so 30 or 60 men in a unit, and you could work.
Right.
So you could go out and work during the day inside the prison and make a small amount of money. I think it would have been like $10 a week or something. and get qualifications. So I think it was a concreting yard. You could get concrete qualifications. There was a building place. You could go and get some building qualifications inside the prison. And so I made that a goal. So I was a little bit of goal setting. And I spoke to the manager of this unit I was in Peremirawa, and I said, hey, can I go to that prison? And he said, you're not getting out of here for at least 7 years. You got a maximum security classification. You're not getting out of here. And I was like, oh, wow. And I think I only asked once, and I think I gave up pretty quick. Fast forward 18 months, and I got moved out on a technicality called a muster blowout. And a muster refers to the total prison population in New Zealand.
So there's too many people in there?
Too many people, and a muster blowout is there's too many people in this prison. So we need to move people out to the other prisons to get our numbers balanced. And so, because in prison you're just a number. So I got moved out. They came on like a Wednesday night. Said, "Can I swear on here?" Or It said, "Pack your shit," because this is the language. Pack your shit. You're off in the morning, and that means pack all of your belongings up. And it's not much because I'm just living in a single cell. But pack all your belongings up. You put them in the bags, and then tomorrow you're going on a bus down to, they said, Spring Hill Prison, which is just south of the Bombay Hills.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's just out of Auckland. And so, it's context, all of my family were in Auckland. So this meant, okay, you're going to move away
getting
from my
close.
family.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So my family were in Auckland, I was in Auckland prison, and I was getting moved just out of Auckland.
Right.
And I was just like, well, I don't want to move. Can I stay? And they're like, no, you can't stay. I was like, okay, well, can I call my family and let them know? Because they're coming to visit me on Saturday. And they said, no, you can't have a phone call. Okay, so no phone call. Got transferred down to Spring Hill Prison the next day. And as soon as I get there, I said, can I call my family? They said, no, you can't call your family. You go into this unit. And I said, can I have my belongings, please? They said, no, you can't have your belongings. They're staying on the bus because you're getting transferred tomorrow. And I said, no, hold on. I'm transferred. I'm here. This is the transfer. And they're like, no, you're getting transferred down to Wellington tomorrow. And I said, I think you've got this all wrong. But they're like, no, this is what's happening. Can't call your family. Okay, so I do get transferred down the next day to Wellington in the bus. And I think it took a couple of days to actually get the phone call to my family to let them know. And, they were distraught. They were horrified. Yeah, and I think I spent the next 3 or 4 years trying to get back to Auckland unsuccessfully. I could never make it back. But, the silver lining with that was Mount Crawford was a low to medium security prison. So I guess, kind of achieved half of what I wanted. I wanted to get to a lower security place. So you're unlocked from, forget the exact unlock, but it's basically 8 in the morning till 4 in the arvo. And I quickly got into employment as well. Like after a few months, I got to the working wing. It's always like somewhere where the work is. So I found out where it was, and I was like, all right, how do I get there? Figured out, okay, did the right things, got there, and started a job. And I ended up becoming initially the storeman for the prison kitchen, so cooking the breakfast, lunches, and dinners for the whole prison. And then and then we had a head cook, and who was a prisoner, and then he got paroled. And then so my boss, who was a prison officer, said, You're going to be the head cook. And no lie, I said, no, I'm not. And he said, yes, you are. I said, his name, what's his name? No, I won't say his name because he might want to keep it private. But he said, Sean, you're doing it. And why didn't I want to do it? Because I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had the skills. I said that. He said, I'll teach you how to cook. Don't worry about it. And I said, and I don't know how to lead a team. And he says, don't worry.
You'll learn.
You'll learn. I'll teach you how to lead the team. And I was scared. And I was still pretty young. I was in my 20s. So I just said, okay.
You felt the feeling?
I think I might have said, if it doesn't work out in the first week or two, can I go back to the storeman job? Because my storeman job was cushy, man. Count all the sugars, count all the butters, count all the eggs, and make sure nothing goes missing, and you're good.
Yeah.
It's cool. And so
you had more responsibility now.
Yeah, more responsibility. And I never forget the first time, because Saturday nights is chicken night. You get roast chicken, vegetables, gravy. And my first chicken night, I sent out raw chicken to the whole prison.
Oh, no.
I thought it was cooked. I mean, I think you're supposed to do it like 45 minutes on steam bake. And like after 30 minutes, I looked at it and I put the probe into one of them and it was good. And then I assumed, being a bit naive and inexperienced, it must be all good. But I'd checked like a top tray, and these are like commercial ovens.
Yeah.
There's like a few ovens. And so the bottom trays cook slower.
Oh,
you know, so inexperienced, I didn't know, and I sent it out. So not everyone got raw chicken, but man, you wouldn't believe how hard it was to walk into a wing of angry prisoners who look for this, like, highlight of the week. Roast chicken night. Yeah, and man, they were pissed at me. But man, that was a learning experience. I never ever did a raw chicken again in my life. So that was
took it a bit further.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a good learning experience.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
So I keep going around in circles, and I don't know if I'm answering your story, your question, but so the mindset at that time in that prison was, and that prison is where I read that article too.
Yeah.
So this is like kind of like an awakening for me, like, oh well, like there's other opportunities. Okay, there's work. Okay, there's people who will be encouraging and supporting. And this was a prison officer. It wasn't. I'd never experienced a prison officer encouraging me and supporting me and helping me to become better. Read that article about Dr. Paul Wood, and I really started to think, okay, what else can I achieve here during my time? So that prison shut down in end of 2012. The reason that I was one of the last people there was because I was still the prison cook. We had to give everyone breakfast that day.
You were cooking until everyone left.
Virtually.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And then I got to Rimutaka prison. Luckily, my boss knew the kitchen boss at Rimutaka prison, and I got a job straight away, like within a week. I got into the working unit, and I got into the prison, and I got a job cooking straight away, which is created a little bit of I think you might call it like jealousy, or like people weren't happy because like, who's this new guy coming straight in? Like because those are like revered, like respected jobs.
You work your way up.
Yeah, you work your way up. You're like you work like in some people cases like 5 or 6 years, and then you can make that position, and like, just come straight in. I guess they didn't know that.
You've done it before.
Yeah. But and I guess there was early learning and experience for me. It's not like what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
Because and I hadn't asked, can you please put in the good word? Like he just put in the good word, and I think I was like his little protege in a way.
Well, I feel like he probably saw you changing and shifting identities, right?
Yeah.
And becoming a different person, a better version of yourself.
Absolutely.
And so he thought, this guy deserves to be in here as well.
Absolutely. And just as you said that, I remembered that he was always telling me to enroll in university as well. And so that seed was planted, and it took a long time to germinate, and for me to put some water on it and to get it.
He saw potential in it.
Yeah, he saw potential when I saw no potential.
Yeah.
And so I went from that daily kind of like try and make it through today mindset, just survive today, to okay, I have a little bit of agency. Going to work is a responsibility. It's also a privilege. And you get a good feeling, you know. Yeah, and in the small prison, I was cooking for 100 people a day. In the big prison, it was 1,000 people a day.
Yeah.
But even cooking for 100 people a day, you finish the service, you clean down, everything's tidy. It's a satisfaction.
Yeah.
A completion. It's an achievement. Every day you're getting a small achievement.
Yeah. Do you know the interesting thing is, like, in prison, you knew that you were there for a period of time, and you were living in that present moment every day, right? Because Eckhart Tolle says in The Power of Now that we only ever have the present moment.
Yes.
And for you weren't even thinking about tomorrow. You're just thinking about, I'm just going to get today.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you're in the present moment. But when you come out of this into this world, everyone's thinking so far ahead.
Yeah.
And they're anxious about what's going on and this and that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that for you weren't thinking ahead of like, oh, what am I going to do here? You're just going, I've just got to deal with today. That would have helped you in terms of not feeling anxious and so on, right? You were probably a little bit more relaxed in that sense.
Absolutely, and I think part of that, it's a function of the environment, because there's so much choices taken away from you.
Yeah.
That it's a little bit less complex than living out here. It's a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
Your door is unlocked at 8.
Yeah.
And your door's locked at 4.
Yeah.
And you either go to work or you go to the yard. Well, I guess you can read a book or do other things. But it's you might have like 100 options versus out here, there's maybe 1,000 or 1,000,000 options.
Yeah.
But what do I want to do today?
Yeah.
And even like 1,000 apps. You can get 1,000 apps on your phone, and which app do I want to open?
So it's so interesting. Even though you were confined, you had freedom within.
Yeah.
Right? But people who are free actually are confined in this world.
Yeah. Well, yes, and I started to get a real understanding of this concept of, and it actually came a little bit later, my kind of realization about this ability that we all have access to be present.
Yeah.
And so I've been meditating now for about 12 years, practicing yoga. Another big discipline that I've kept throughout my life is physical exercise and physical training. And those disciplines have really helped me to stay centered and grounded. But it doesn't mean that my whole journey has been easy and I've handled every challenge with ease. A big growth period for me was in 2016 when I started counseling, and then also having access to psychologists to help me work on the internal world from a cognitive point of view.
Yeah.
And so I know you're familiar with CBT.
Yes.
So I did a lot of therapy with CBT.
Check your thought. Catch your thought, check your thought, change your thought.
Yeah. So for everyone else, it's cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
So it's looking at your thoughts, your emotions,
your actions,
and also, probably a little bit more importantly, the beliefs that drive everything underneath.
Absolutely.
Because your actions create your results.
Yep.
And that's in your situation, which you're going to have thoughts and feelings about. So I went through about a 3-year intensive focus on trying to rewire my beliefs. And I've shared my beliefs with you earlier. I had a lot of strong negative beliefs, and they were hard to break down, hard to counter, and hard to replace. And they still get triggered every now and again. Like something will happen and I'll feel bad about myself, and I go, and there'll be a little negative voice in my head that says, "Oh, you fucked up. Oh, you're not good enough." But now it's there's also a part about accepting it. Okay, I accept there's this little voice that will sometimes pop up, but then it's how fast can I challenge that thought, accept it, challenge it, and then replace it with a more helpful, true thought.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm not replacing it with lies. It's like, actually, what is the evidence for this belief?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it true? Is there anything else which is also true?
Yeah.
And that's DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, which I also do.
And it's coming from that place of curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also letting go of stuff that no longer serves you.
Yeah.
Because we hold on to things. I mean, we hoard things physically,
Yes.
but internally we hold on to so many things that no longer serve us.
Yes.
And it's like, just let it go. Accept it. That it is what it is. Let it go.
Yes.
Free yourself from it and move forward.
Yeah. And so the freedom point is so key. And there are challenges for me in trying to, I guess, embody and harness that sense of freeness, as I'm sure it is for a lot of people today. And that's why I always come back to my skills and my practices and I have grounding techniques. So taking 3 deep breaths, renaming a thought, reframing it, and then resetting it and go, okay, what's the next action I can take?
Yeah.
And trying to reduce the time frame down from going from, a thought spiral that might last days to bringing it back to lasting hours, to bringing it back to lasting minutes, and optimally, how quick can we reset? And I look to, for example, sports as a form of inspiration for me. And an example is the top tennis players. When they lose a point, they need to switch straight back into the winning mindset for the next serve and the next rally. And if they lose that one, they need to switch. And you need to be so quick. And so for me, it's all about repetition. And I have the skills. I even have them written down, and I know it works for me. And different people will have different practices that work for them, but I know it works for me. So then the only thing I need to do is make sure that I keep practicing.
Yeah.
And the more you practice, the more it rewires in your brain.
Yeah.
And the more it becomes a habit, and it's instinctual. So when something happens, I don't actually have to whip out the piece of paper or the notes on the phone and go, okay, A, B, C, D. Oh, okay, got to do that now. It's like it just happens automatically.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time building that skill and that habit.
Yeah, it takes time and practice. And like you, I have a practice that I do every morning. So when I wake up in the morning, usually about 10 to 5 in the morning, I'm lying in bed, and first thing I do is gratefulness. Everything that I'm grateful for, every person, the abundance that I have in this world, and love, health, wealth, everything, right? People that are in my life. And then the next thing I do is I visualize a grounding technique where I see myself going down to the center of the earth, running across this bridge to this clearing where there's ocean and mountains. And I see my current self burn down and my new self come out like a champion, like exactly like that. And then I run back up into my body, and that's my new self going back into my body. And the third thing I do is intentions. So there's a thing called segment intending. So you break your day up into little small segments, and you go, wouldn't it be amazing if this happened? And everything that you've got on your mind, you reframe with positive intentions. And I tell you what, many times things have happened on that day as I have put those intentions out there. Because we have the ability to create. We are more, the Bible says we're created in the image of God, and if we're created in the image of God, then we are creators in that being. We have God within us, and so we are able to create our reality. And if we only reframe it, we only believe it and back ourselves, then we can have a future with whatever we want in our life, a desire.
Yeah, we need to back ourselves and take action.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as I said on the post yesterday, as I commented, a lot of people think it's impossible to do this, do that. But if you break the word impossible down, I'm possible.
Yes.
So I want to encourage everyone, you are absolutely possible. You can do anything you want. You really just got to believe and back yourself. Now, you haven't just rebuilt your life. You're actually thriving in your life.
Yes.
Which is amazing. What are some of the biggest hurdles that you're facing reintegrating back into society?
I have to say the biggest one has been the employment one.
Yeah.
During my time in prison, as I said, I was lucky to enroll with Mass University, studied extramurally. And at that time, we had no computers, no internet access. I still think it's the setup in prisons at the moment, no computers, no internet access. So did 2 diplomas by hand, diploma in business studies and a diploma in psychology. Got out of prison into full-time work and continued studying part-time and completed Bachelor of Business with Mass University last year.
Nice.
And for me, it was like kind of multi reasons why I was studying. So self-improvement. A great byproduct of the study while in prison was it actually took my brain out of the prison walls. Thinking about economics, finance, and psychology, all these things. It was like, wow, there's so much out there in the world, so much knowledge, and so many different aspects and arenas to look into. And I was only studying 2 subjects, business and psychology. We know there's so much to learn. So that was amazing because whilst I was in prison physically, my mind was elsewhere. Yeah. Thinking about positive things.
You were creating a new reality.
You're creating a new reality, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so in the kind of third reason why I was studying was because I believed it would give me credibility. I thought, if I get diploma, the initial goal was to complete a paper. And this is what I do with my goals. So I break everything down. So here's what's the vision, and then what's the long-term goal, medium and short-term goal, and then break that down into tasks. And so the first short-term goal was let's complete 1 paper. So I did the 1 paper, and I was like, okay, do another paper. And once I did another paper, I thought, well, there's only 2 more papers to go, and I could complete a certificate. So that was the very first one I did, a certificate in science and technology. I thought, okay, cool. If I do another 4 papers, I can get a diploma. So I cross-credited them. That's when I did the diploma in psychology. And then I thought, and I had a bit more time, had a few more years left in prison. And I thought, well, there's no point stopping now. So we carry on. I think I could credit about 3 or 4 of those papers to the next diploma.
Yeah.
So, did that. And then I had two diplomas and got out of prison. I thought, well, if I cross-credit a few of them into a degree, I can fit to get a degree. And I thought, here's the goal. I thought, that'll give me credibility in the world. Because coming out, I knew that it was going to be tough to get a good job, good pay, good company. Labouring jobs, I guess, are a dime a dozen. I think there's certain industries and certain types of jobs which people with a conviction could go into without too much hassle. But for me, I didn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. I was aspiring for more, and I thought, well, a degree from a respected, reputable New Zealand university might help me in that respect. And I finished the degree, did a bunch of networking, and I have lots of good contacts and mentors as well. And they put me into these opportunities, and I'd go, and I was trying to get into the corporate environment, and I was applying for these roles, getting to first interview, getting to second interview, getting to final interview. And then usually it would be when I'd hit HR stage, final checks.
They're doing the checks, yeah.
Which I disclosed up front in the application, criminal check tick list. But I think some of the processes, they get all the way to the end and do the check at the end. And it was like, okay, Sean, you're perfect for the role. We'd love to have you, but here's our employment policy, and we can't accept people with a criminal conviction. And obviously I would accept that, but also gently push back and kind of ask some questions. And is there any wiggle room? Can you relook at your policies?
Good on you for challenging it.
Yeah, I mean, New Zealand Parole Board has deemed me to not pose undue risk to the community. That's why they released me. Yeah. It's super hard to anyone on a life sentence to get released from prison. Super hard. There's so many things to look at. Your psychological reports. Have you done treatment? Have you done rehabilitation? Do you have a support network? Do you have a job? Do you have somewhere to live? All of these things. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm safe. But I do also understand that there is. You put me, Sean, mid-30s, he's got a degree, and he does have this work experience, versus person B, mid-30s, got a degree, has this experience. Oh yeah, but Sean's got a murder conviction. Well, we'll go for the one that doesn't have the murder conviction. That makes complete 100% rational sense. I won't deny that. However, I do think that it's important that we look at the individual and what they can bring. And so I bring a lot of skills, experience, and knowledge and ways that I can communicate, relate with people that the other person may not have. They may be very, very qualified and have a lot of skills, but I also bring skills that are unique and that can add value to an organisation.
So would it be fair to say that you're advocating towards the changing of policies within organisations?
I would definitely encourage organisations and society at large to think about what is the kind of society we want to build. Is it one that's based on openness, acceptance, support, encouragement,
or judgment?
Or judgment and rejection for all people, not just like people who have been to prison. For all kinds of people, and there's different sectors that are marginalised and discriminated against for various reasons in our society and in New Zealand society and in societies globally. But I'm a big advocate of seeing people for where they're at.
Absolutely,
the value they can bring as a person. Yeah,
agree with you. Yeah,
and that'll flow into part of the work that I'm about to start doing, and the organisation that I've just finished my coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you push through the self-doubt and the external judgment? Like you were getting these rejections from jobs. Yeah. How did you what kept you pushing through?
Man, I still cry. Rejection's tough.
It is, man. Yeah. Hey, I'm 54 and I've had rejections all my life.
Yeah.
I've been through 24 restructures and 4 redundancies, and I just decided that that's it. Corporate world doesn't work for me anymore.
Yes.
In fact, I've outgrown it.
Yes.
So I'm CEO level now.
Yeah.
So why should I work for someone else when I can work for myself?
Absolutely. So there's a part of that which is rejection is a part of life.
Absolutely.
And so there was part of it for me. It was like, okay, yes, they said no. It's a reflection on them their policies, their processes, maybe even their beliefs, not a reflection on me. I believe I'm a good person at heart. I know I've done bad things, but I know that I've done things to improve myself, and I know that I can add a lot of value to an organization with my skills. So that's part of it. It's just like reframing. Okay, rejection's normal. It's not personal. It might. Sometimes it feels personal.
It feels it. Yeah, it feels.
And it's hard not to. It's hard not to feel a bit sad and depressed, frustrated, disappointed.
Yeah.
And the big one, I think, for me, which has been a huge game changer for me as a person, is now I have this amazing support network of family, friends, mentors that I can go to, and I go to whenever I need help, and that could just be, look, even to my sister or my partner, hey, I feel like shit, this happened today, and it's just having someone who can give me empathy, who can listen, and can just say, yeah, Sean, that's tough, I hear you.
Yeah.
But the key part there was there is the possibility that support has always been on offer to me through my whole life, but I never accessed it because I never asked. And
Well, you haven't been vulnerable enough to.
No,
go,
yeah.
Yeah. So having the vulnerability to go,
Yeah.
hey, I'm feeling this way today.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And like it's interesting. You've conversed with my girlfriend.
Yes.
And like when we started going out 9 months ago, and I've been on this journey of working through my rejection and abandonment from childhood, especially with relationships and everything. And there have been triggers that have popped up for me. And in the beginning of the relationship, I was like, I wrote a chapter in a book, and it talks all about it. I'll send it to you so you can have a read. All about, and I said, before we start dating, here's my life story. I want you to read it and then tell me if you still want to go out with me. And she read it and she goes, what you went through, no child should ever have to go through. Because like you, I was also verbally, physically, and sexually abused. And that was at the age of 10. So long story short, over the last 9 months, I've been able to work through so many things because I have a partner who is understanding, a partner who is always there. She's there to talk to me when I'm feeling a certain way. I've also learned to be more vulnerable and be able to say, hey, I'm feeling like this today, So it's important. I really take my hat off and say, well done for showing that. Because it would have been hard to do that, especially when you've been in like prison for 11 years.
Yeah.
It changes you as a person, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, and some people will become all tough and stuff, and then some people will sort of oppress themselves, right? But it's important that if you're going through things in your life, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to talk to someone that you trust and say, or it's okay to reach out to a coach or a mentor and say, hey, I'm struggling today, I need some help. And go and talk to someone like Sean or myself. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. This is really beautiful what you shared, Anthony.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out to that little Anthony that had those terrible things happen to him.
Look, it's been a tough 50-something years.
Yes.
But I wouldn't change a single day. Everything that I've been through in my life, I would not change a single day. The reason I say that is because we are meant to go through these things, because we are meant for us to become the better version of ourselves, for us to have what we desire in life, to have what we're destined for. These are tests that we have to go through in our life. We have to go through these roads, these hurdles, these challenges. And as you do that, doors open up, right? And I mean, we've met a couple of times and we've had conversations about, how we could collaborate together and so on. Like, we're from totally different ethnic backgrounds, but we have quite similar experiences in some shape or form. Life is tough, but those tough moments are where we lean into what's happening. If it's fear, lean into fear. Fear is your friend. If it's your comfort zone, lean into if you're feeling discomfort, lean into that discomfort and get through it, because your dreams will die in your comfort zone. And we are meant to expand and grow. Life is about expansion and growth. So the more we lean in, the more we become curious about what's going on, the more we observe ourselves and live in that present moment, everything else doesn't matter, right?
Yes.
So that's what I've learned, is that everything I've been through is a setup for my comeback today.
Yeah.
Because those setbacks were the setups
Absolutely.
for a greater comeback today and tomorrow and the next day. And so every day we're going to face challenges, but it's our responsibility whether we're going to get up as a champion. We're going to get up, and we're not going to give up, but we're just going to keep going and moving forward.
100% agreed. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. And, it's so humbling for me to be on Champion Mindset Collective podcast with you today. And in hearing what you just said reminded me of one of my favorite quotes from a guy called Randy Porsche, who read a book called The Last Lecture. And he said that brick walls are there for a reason. They give us a chance to show how much something means to us. And I read that when I was in prison, and every challenge, every obstacle that I came up with, I tried to apply that philosophy. Here's a brick wall. How much does it mean for me to get past this wall? And it could be through, it could be around, it could be over. And that's what kind of generates that creative approach, because we're always going to encounter challenges, obstacles, barriers in our lives. But
Absolutely.
what can we do to overcome?
Yeah. Well, when we come to a speed bump on a road, we don't stop.
No.
We slow down and go over it.
Yeah.
Right? Some people just fly over it.
Yeah.
It depends on your perception of a speed bump. It's like, oh, I'm just going to fly over this thing, right? Like in the Hollywood movies. When you come to a hurdle, when you're in a hurdle race, you don't stop.
No.
You jump over that hurdle.
Yeah.
Right? It's like.
And thinking about that reminded me, your earlier question was, what was your mindset when you're in prison? And so part of that, when I got further into my sentence, I started ticking off, instead of days, I started to tick off years.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I've done 5 years now, and now I've done 6, and then it was counting down. Okay, so I've got 4 years to go, 3 years to go, 2 years to go, until the parole board. Not till I get out, but so I can go to the parole board and get the chance of getting out.
You were doing quantum shifts. You were collapsing time.
And I have to say that the big because 11 years, when I hit the 5.5 year mark and got just past it, I was like, wow, I've broken the camel's back.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I can make it halfway,
it's plain sailing now.
I should be able to make it through the last half too.
Yeah.
We're at the Business Blueprint event yesterday on the North Shore with Dean Payne.
Yeah.
Fantastic event. And he talked a lot about mindset, about taking action, and about imposter syndrome, about that imposter voice and the cheerleader voice, and trying to turn the imposter down and trying to turn the cheerleader up.
Absolutely.
And I really gel with that, because that's what I've been trying to do for years as well. And he talked about the vision board. So he puts vision boards for himself. He set this goal that he wants to travel around the world for 3 months. By the time he was 40, he missed the goal with his family, traveled around the world. He missed the goal, but he managed to do it when he was 48. Traveled around the world for 4 months, which he shared with us. Absolutely amazing. And I had a vision board for many years while I was in prison, and it was that daily looking up what I want to have, what I want to be, what I want to do. And you shared earlier your morning practice. I've got a morning practice as well. Do you mind if I share?
Yeah, go for it.
Mine's a lot of visualizing as well. So I visualize this beautiful, warm mother energy coming from the sky, beaming down to me, and telling me, like, you're doing good, keep doing what you're doing, I'm proud of you, everything's going to happen, you can relax. And so I tell myself, and I feel like kind of those goosebumps now as I say it, and because it's like, so I do have a mother, but even if I don't have a mother that I can talk to every day and who can tell me those things, I can create that energy for myself, and I can tell myself those words. So I move from that into this this vortex visualization, where I imagine that I am being floated up into this vortex of white light, and then I come out the top, and it's this expansive white light, and then I have a unique life purpose, which it's a mantra, it's an affirmation. I'll keep it private today, but I say that to myself. But it's very positive. It's very action based. It's very identity based about who I am and who I want to be. It's very aspirational. Then I have another visualization where it's a little bit, I think, like your one, but I visualize a tower. I'm at the bottom of the tower. It's this big tower, and like I'm right at the bottom, and I'm almost dead at the bottom. But then again, I float up, and I come out into this incredible white light, and then it turns into this scene where I'm lying back in this expansive blue ocean, and it's warm, and it's just lovely.
Wow.
and beautiful. And I have a set of affirmations that I run through there. I know it sounds quite long, but like it's me. It's just this is what ticks for me, right?
Exactly. It's you do what you do, you, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Then there's this big black glowing sun object. I call it black sun, that expands up through my body and out of me and turns into this glowing warm light, and then it reflects out and
from your heart,
from my chest. Yeah, out into the world. And there's no words on this one. This is just a feeling of everything, because the blackness is coming from a void. It's coming from a nothingness. Yeah. And out of nothing comes the light.
Yes, absolutely.
And then when I'm emitting it outwards, that's my energy that I'm intending, as you said, to emit out into the world through my thoughts, my emotions, and my actions. Yeah. True. And then and then I'm into gratitude. So I got the gratitude practice after that, and that's this beautiful sun energy flowing down onto me, and I go through 2 or 3 things that I'm grateful for in the moment. And I feel that it's a beautiful energy that flows through my body, and I just sit there and absorb it, just absorb that white light that's shining down to me. And that's pure love, pure light, just pure beauty. And then I shift that gratitude into 2 or 3 things in the future, a little bit like what you're saying, what I want to intend for the day. I'm already grateful for them happening.
Absolutely.
They haven't happened yet, but I'm grateful for them happening because I believe they're going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's already happened. Yeah. Right? Because there are millions of versions of you in the quantum field. Yeah. And you've just got to, because what you did in prison by collapsing time is what you did is you shifted your identity.
Absolutely.
You shifted from being a prisoner to being free and doing the things that you wanted to do.
Yes.
Right? And so in this life, we've got to be the person that we want. Whatever you want to become, you got to be that person right now.
Yes.
Do the things that person would do, and you have it.
And the one thing that we just always need to add in is that, and then you got to take action.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because some people think there's all the things going to happen, they do it all in their head, and then they don't do anything in reality. But you got to take action.
No. And my philosophy is you got to be aware of what's going on, go on a discovery, become curious about it, and then take action. So let's talk a little bit about your moving into the tech. You've founded Better Convo, and I had a play with the app last time we met. What inspired you to build that app and focused on helping people to communicate more empathetically?
So Better Convo is an app that people can use to help them have a courageous conversation with the person in real life in a way that is clear, empathic, and compassionate. And so the nuts and bolts of how the app works is you can input a situation. An example could be, hey, my flatmate left the kitchen dirty last night. So and then you can enter. You'll be prompted to enter a couple of feelings. So you might be feeling annoyed and a bit curious about why they left it dirty, because they always leave it clean. And then you can enter a request and you can say, this is how you'd want to talk to the person. You'd put something like, I want you to keep it clean. And this is, because everything, this sends a call to OpenAI, and I've got a lot of prompting in the background, which will then give a suggested script for the person to say in real life. And it's based on an empathic communication model. So the GPT might return something like, hey, I noticed last night when I came back home, there was cutlery left on the kitchen bench. I'm feeling a little bit annoyed and curious about why there was things on the bench. Would you help me to understand why the kitchen wasn't left clean? And can we talk about a way that we can both ensure cleanliness and beauty for our kitchen? Because that's really important to me. So it goes into this, like in the background, it's going through an observation. You're stating an observation, you're stating how you're feeling, you're stating your need or what you're wanting, and you're making a clear, actionable request to the person. And so this is what got me interested in this, is that I've been working on my communication for many years now. So the very, very worst kind of communication I've done is physical violence. And, all the scales back up to being completely compassionate, empathetic, and caring. There's a wide range, and I've been trying to slowly improve my communication over many years, including going to communication training workshops. And I've been doing these workshops as well with my partner. And so when I started this coding bootcamp with Take Two last August, and so I was learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript. These are quite techie words, a bit of jargon. React, MongoDB, learning about APIs, databases, building servers and things like that. And I knew that at the end of the course, I'd need to build a graduation project. And so I was talking with my partner over time, and we had a bunch of ideas, put them into a spreadsheet, and there's so many things that we can build now as developers and as people in tech, or even just the average person can build some amazing stuff now without too much coding knowledge. But I had a real world problem. I want to build something that's going to help me to speak well. And in talking with my friends, family, colleagues, my partner, this was a problem that many people had. They've walked away from a conversation and then they've thought, geez, I wish I could have said that better, or I wish I would have said that a little bit different. And so that's where Better Convo came in my mind. It was like, I want to build an app that's going to help people to speak with clarity, empathy, and courage.
Yeah. And that app is available for people to use?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yes.
Where can they find it?
I can share a link with you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, awesome. How has your own journey shaped the way for you to approach leadership and innovation today?
The big thing for me is having a growth mindset. Leadership is about doing what you say and saying what you do. And it's about being a role model and setting a good example.
Integrity, right?
Integrity. And there's different styles of leadership. And I think there might be different kinds of leadership that may be needed in different roles or different contexts. But for me, leadership is being open to trying new things and taking on people's input, getting buy-in, making sure people feel heard and involved in the process, and like they matter. Because I think at the end of the day, we all walk around with an invisible sign on our head that says, make me feel like I matter. We all want to matter. We all want to feel important.
We want to get validated.
Yeah. We all want to see the value. Yeah. We all want to know that people see the value that we believe we have.
Yeah. The interesting thing, back in 21, I was seeking validation from my general manager where I was working. And I was listening to the On Purpose podcast with Jay Shetty.
Yes.
And he said, you don't need validation from anyone except for yourself. Completely changed my life. From that day onwards, I didn't seek validation from anyone. Well, I tried very hard not to. And so for that, it's like everything you need an answer to is already within you. And it's about inside out. If you look at the movie Inside Out, it's a great movie, and it's all about our emotions and so on. And so often we seek we seek validation, or we seek answers from external, but then you're working on other people's perceptions. So
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's best to just work in your own perception and work through challenges, but go internal, because from within, all the answers are there.
Yeah, and for the viewers that don't know, Jay Shetty comes from this background of going into being a monk
Yeah.
for a number of years. Yeah, so I do think that that what you're talking about is probably the highest form of self-actualization and self-realization. I do think it's a hard bar to set for a lot of people, and I do think that we are humans and we're built to connect, we're built to relate, and that can only happen in relationship with others.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very important for us to be able to validate ourselves,
Yeah.
to be able to see our own value.
Yeah.
And like through my experience, I've also learned that there will be times when I don't believe in myself, or there will be times where I doubt myself, and it's in those moments when I reach out for support, that it's really important that it's there for me, just in being a human. And that's just my experience.
Yeah. I mean, look, Jay and I, we both come from, our families come from the same part of India. We've both went through similar relationship challenges, because I've listened to his podcast. I think, although, like, people go, oh, he was a monk and he's like up there.
Yeah.
No, he was just a normal person who was in a monastery going to observe and learn about himself, which made him a better person. And then he came back to the world, secular world, and he's just been really sharing what he learned, right? I know a lot of people have judged him based on his story and so on, but I think, look, if you're sitting out on the fences judging, you're not actually playing the game. So if you want to play the game, come onto the field and play the game, and be part of the game. Don't be a spectator. The life is not a spectator sport. Life is a sport where you get involved and do it, right? And so there's a lot of people out there who are not even willing to observe themselves. And I think whenever we're going through things, the best thing to do is to really stop, pause, breathe, and just zoom out of yourself, come out of yourself and observe yourself. Okay, what's going on right now, right? What can I do? What power do I have? And it's about turning that pain into power. And it's an internal power, right? And as you said before, through the darkness comes a light, right? You got the dark sun, the light comes out.
Yeah.
You've got to go through the darkness to be able to get to the light. And it's just the way it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Jay Shetty, and a lot of respect for his story.
Yeah.
And I think what you said, I agree with. The key is to build that self-awareness, that self-insight, and through that self-reflection practice.
The first step, yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely. A simple way to do it is, what did I do? What did I want to happen? And what were the results? And if the results didn't match up with what you wanted to happen, it's just like, okay, what 1 or 2% change can I make to try and iterate towards the results I do want?
Yeah.
And repeating that process over and over again, iterating towards that reality that you want.
Yeah.
But you need to have that reflective process to get there.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, last question for you before we go into the quickfire questions. For someone who's listening today and they're stuck, feeling stuck, they're ashamed of their past, or they're struggling to believe that change is possible, one piece of advice you'd give them?
Yeah, I'd say to anyone who's struggling, not believing in themselves, you are loved, you are valued, you are important, and reach out to someone and talk to them, let them know what's going on for you, because the power of being human is that we can connect with other humans, and through that connection, we can get our needs for validation, love, meaning, purpose, value met. So that would be my number one thing I'd say. It's ask for help when you need it, because nine times out of 10 people will say yes in life, and 9 times out of 10, if you're picking the right people, they will support you and encourage you.
Absolutely, yeah. And are there any practical steps you'd like to share?
A practical step would be following the following sequence. When X happened, I felt Y. Would you be able to Z? So when I got rejected yesterday in the job offer, I felt really sad. Would you be able to listen to me and acknowledge that this is a tough moment for me. So
Yeah. So understanding how you felt, your emotions,
Yeah.
connecting with your emotions, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been told not to feel the emotions, which is completely wrong.
yeah,
All right. So feel the emotion.
yeah,
Because the human need is like your self-esteem is made up of your needs, your emotions, and your boundaries.
Yeah.
You've got to look after all three of those.
yes.
Yeah. All right. So,
And a lot of people, I mean, it's reality that some people won't have those supportive people in their life or in their network. So there are free services, free online services that people can call up to get, that kind of counselling or that ear that we can speak to. So maybe that's something you could add in the show notes as well. Just a link to a few online services.
absolutely.
Phone
Yeah.
services, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I've got 6 questions. Answer it in a single word or a very short sentence.
Yep.
What's your definition of success, and has that definition changed for you over time?
Being a positive role model and having a positive impact on the world.
Nice. Who's been your greatest inspiration and why?
Dr. Paul Wood, unbelievable inspiration to me still now, to know that he's the reason I believe that change is possible, because I saw him in the newspaper and I wrote to him, and then I've met him in real life now.
Nice.
And yeah,
Well done.
absolute inspiration.
What's something that you believe that others may disagree with?
We all make mistakes and we all deserve a second chance.
If you could go back and give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
I'll tell him you are loved, you're special, and I'm going to keep you safe.
What's one message would you like to share with the world?
So the message I'd like to share with the world is that anything is possible if you put your mind to it and believe in yourself and back yourself by surrounding yourself with a positive support network.
Absolutely, 100%. And last question is, and this is double barrel like, what does it mean to you to be a champion and to have a champion mindset?
Being a champion to me is accepting that tough things are going to happen. And when you get knocked down, dust yourself off, get back up, and try again. That's what being a champion is to me. It's not about winning all the time, but it's about believing that getting up every time is going to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah. And like, thank you for that. Like a previous guest said, Les Paul, I think it was, they said that while you're down there, see what else you can dust off and make better before you get back up. Well, thank you, Sean. It's been an amazing episode today. It's been great talking with you and really share, it's interesting. We've got so much in common. I felt like I'd been in prison, having been in an ashram for 6 years. Yeah, it's really amazing to see you change your life, change your direction of your life and become the person that you are today. So well done. Congratulations on doing that. And I'm sure that you made yourself and your family proud. To our listeners, if Sean's story has touched you and inspired you and gave you hope, please share this episode with someone that could actually benefit from this. And until next time, remember that you are worthy, you are loved, champion your life and champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.